Thank you. Thank you for being here.
It's my pleasure. You guys are my customers. Least I can do is come and express my gratitude to you and all of your fellow students because, again, you're our guests. My responsibility is to serve you.
And we've really only ever had one other guest star that is of celebrity status. We've had a couple bands. I'd say what?
Yeah, we had like
four?
2 bands in here,
So
and then
we
we
had,
had
like-
Diamond White in here.
Yeah, but she was a singer, so that counts.
Yeah,
so
but when
we've
you came in, like everyone knew you, and when I was like, because you had to go somewhere, and like I was leading you through the hall, and I felt like the president's bodyguard. I was like, oh man, like because people are like Paul Glantz, and I'm like I gotta protect this guy. So yeah.
Well, what's odd about that is that you guys think I'm a celebrity. I don't think I'm a celebrity, but if you think so, I'm certainly glad to play along.
Did you ever expect with becoming a CEO that you would be a celebrity, that you would get that status?
There's a responsibility that comes along with leading a business, and I was sharing with your teacher, Ms. McNee, that we made a conscious decision about 5 years ago now to try and personalize the business with my image and my voice and so forth. So, of course, I do all the policy trailers before the film starts. And so I, for better or for worse, I've put myself in this position, and it's largely for better, of course. But the premise is this. We're in a business where we're selling a generic product. You could see the same film at MJR, at AMC, at Phoenix, at United Artists, or at Imagine. And, of course, at the margin, I'm hoping that by personalizing the business, that folks will think he seems like a pretty good guy. We'll do business with him as opposed to perhaps the Chinese conglomerate, AMC.
Yeah, because definitely, I mean, if I was in the car now, like after having had this exchange, and we're like, do you want to go to MJR? Do you want to go to Imagine? I'd be like, well, dude, I met Paul Glantz. We have to go to Imagine now.
Well, thanks. I don't mind telling you so that's sort of a conscious effort on my part is to try to ingratiate our business with you, or ingratiate you to our business through my presence. And again, I'm very happy to meet our guests and to express my gratitude to them, and whether they be high school students or adults. And so it's really a lot of good fortune for me that I get to play this role.
And it definitely feels the whole atmosphere of Imagine Theaters. It feels more at home. It feels like you're actually stepping into someone's like personal movie theater per se, and everything. I mean, and then we know lots of people that work there, of course, and then with you coming on screen and just the whole atmosphere of all of it makes it feels so much more comfortable, whereas other theaters it seems kind of almost like plastic and like made,
There's a method behind that madness. I mean, I genuinely, and I think I've said this since my trailers before, I want to welcome our guests to Imagine like I would welcome someone to my home. I want you to feel like it's your home away from home. And interestingly enough, we're doing something new these days. We've got a screening room concept. And the screening room are these relatively small auditoriums. They seat between 12 and 24 guests. And the idea is it's a private screening experience. So let's say you wanted to bring 11 of your closest friends and have a private screening of, say, the film It. We could accommodate you in Royal Oak right now and soon in Birmingham. And the premise is that it's your private experience. We give you an iPad, and you can control the lights, the sound, and believe it or not, you can pause the film.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, and so the whole idea is to create that more intimate experience. And so we're doing a lot of things in our business these days to try to innovate, to try to introduce new stuff. So, for example, in Royal Oak, we're also doing what we call Dine and View, where you can eat more substantial food while you're sitting at your chair and folks wait on you. We're also going to evolve in Royal Oak a part of our venue into what we call bar scene cinema, which essentially is sort of a very relaxed form of moviegoing where you sit in booths or sit in bar chairs and watch a first-run film. Because we think that in a mature industry like the movie business, it's about serving ever smaller niche markets. And so it's sort of in fact, we've trademarked the term movies your way, because my goal is to say, what is it, Mitchell or River, what is it you would specifically like in a movie-going experience? And my job is to craft it around your specific needs.
Yeah, and I definitely feel like that more personal. That sounds really great, by the way. I can't wait for that to come to the Troy location or the Rochester Hills location, so that we can do that. We could get the whole radio program.
Yeah, we'll get the whole radio in there. Go watch a movie.
Yeah, maybe that could be a thing. Okay, so I would like to ask you a question regarding your kids. Do they Do they hold you in regards as a celebrity? How do they treat it like that? Do you have any funny stories of that?
My sons, I think, are accustomed to me. They know that I pass gas and and then, so I'm just dad to them. I think that they recognize that their father is and again, this is the term I would characterize myself, a quasi-celebrity, not a real celebrity, right? I'm not Big Sean. I'm not, Nelly, right?
Yeah.
But I think they get it because they see my public persona as well. But at home, they've been around me for 26 and 24 years respectively. So they treat me like they would always treat just their dad.
Yeah.
That's awesome for sure. I mean, I can't even imagine if I had just carrying around the name Glantz. I mean, I'm sure like even if they go to like Starbucks, what's a name for your order? They don't say their first name. They probably say their last name, right?
I hope not. I hope they're not trying to play off of the business value, and they're not. They both have a lot of humility, which I think is a wonderful characteristic in a human. And so I don't think that either one of them derive much value from the fact their dad's in the movie business.
Well, that's great. I really appreciate that humility. We had a much more serious question that one of our teachers here, Miss Kramer, wanted to ask but didn't get a chance to. She wanted to know what you think the biggest challenge is that this generation faces today.
You're talking about your generation.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you characterize your generation? Are you guys millennials?
I think we're
something?
Gen X, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're like around millennials. I mean, you and me are like a year.
I'm 2000.
Yeah, so no, you are a millennial. I'm
a
1999,
and
so
you're
just
Gen
missed
X,
that
right?
one. I don't.
Or is the
X?
new one Gen X?
I don't know.
I think any of the kids
Around
that
the
are
2000s.
in I think anyone who's in high school right now is
Yeah, high
considered
schoolers.
millennial, and anyone in middle school is considered Gen X,
Okay.
right? I don't know how that
Sure,
works.
those people.
Actually, I'm baby boomer. Then it was Gen X, but I think
Oh,
you guys,
okay.
I think you guys would be millennials if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a specific challenge for millennials any different than any other generation has faced. They're all somewhat different in terms of their culture and their value system and so forth. But I know there certainly is talk among folks my generation, my age, that young people have perhaps a different work ethic. Millennials are more inclined to insist upon and expect a work-life balance, whereas I was talking to a gentleman the other day about he's an employer as I am, and he said when you interview folks these days, they all ask you what's in it for me beside just a paycheck. And he said, when we were growing up, we were just happy to have jobs. And so maybe the expectations are greater these days. And I don't mind telling you that kind of raises the bar for employers like myself at Proctor Financial and at Emagine, that we have to provide you with a favorable work experience, and you've got to be fully satisfied with your job. The other thing I would say is that it's also incumbent upon guys my age, gals my age, to be able to articulate not just you're going to get a paycheck, but what's the larger mission. And in my case, you might say, and I'm talking about Emagine now, that, well, what are you doing to improve the life by showing movies? Well, I think we serve a really important role in life in that we know manufacturing jobs, for example, are really important. We know that growing the economy is predicated upon a more highly educated workforce and so forth. But at the end of the day, we don't live by work alone. And I think that by operating entertainment venues that can enhance the quality of life, that we're serving a greater role in society, that's sort of our mission. And so I think that the real opportunity for folks that are working with the millennials is to be able to articulate the mission, the vision that goes beyond just we're going to give you a paycheck for showing up. You've got to believe, like I do, that we're actually enhancing the quality of life in Southeast Michigan through the operation of our venues.
You have so many powerful words and analogies and metaphors that I have to wonder, do you do speeches often? Is public speaking something that you are very avid about?
7, 8, 10 years ago, I was horrible at this.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I'm particularly better today, but I'm certainly not suffering from stage fright these days. And probably it's due to the fact that I speak extemporaneously. Rarely do I speak from any prepared notes these days because I think it comes off as much more genuine when you're just talking to people. And that's generally what I'm trying to do is talk, relate stories, some real life experiences to the folks with whom I'm speaking. And I think they appreciate that more. And Governor Snyder is about my age. He's a CPA, as I am. He has the same haircut as I have. By the way, I copied him with that part. And if you think back, and you guys are a little young for this, but if you think back when he was first running for public office, he would stumble over his words. He appeared stiff, and it was largely because he was reading his speeches. And I suffered from the same malady. And so once you throw the cue cards away, as he did, and you know the material you're speaking to, you come off as again, much more genuine and more credible.
Yeah, when you were doing the Q&A, when we handed the microphone off to people for questions, and they asked you were like, oh, I've gotten this question a billion times. Let me just pull up my note card and see, go down the list to find out which one it is. You had your water bottle, you just sat on the stage, and you looked him in the eye, and it's like you were just kind of having a conversation, and we all got the opportunity to listen in. And so it really, it portrayed that feeling of that very, very genuine conversation, that the honesty that you were speaking from, the heart and just what's in your head.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I thought before I spoke. In most cases, I did bring up one issue I kind of regret now, and you could even blame me for it.
Right.
One of my the transgressions of my youth, but it's intended to be conversational. Mm-hmm. We're all humans. We're all here on Earth, and I don't consider myself to be above anyone else. You guys pull on your pants the same way I do. And so the fact that we can converse like this in this setting or in a larger setting, I'm just very very grateful for the opportunity to do so. I'm actually grateful that folks would think I've got something to contribute that they were interested in hearing. I mean, that's always my biggest challenge. Gosh, did I hit on what you guys wanted to hear? Mm-hmm. Did I convey some nugget of information that folks can take away and perhaps it'll better their lives? Because ultimately, I want the time spent with me to be valuable.
And do you feel that more genuine, on point, kind of conversation rather than reading off a cue card kind of relates to your social media following? Because that is more that you can just say and react to whatever kids or anyone is, tweeting you and whatnot. Is that why you enjoy it so much and why you're so active on that front?
Yeah, I'm probably more active on social media than most guys my age.
Definitely.
But it's part of, again, my genuine interest in connecting to our guests. You guys are my customers. And if I don't relate to you, if you think, he's just a stuffy old man who, is making a ton of money by selling us overpriced popcorn, you're not going to like me very well, are you? Yeah. And in fact, that question came up, what did I think of folks who brought food into the movie theater? So I don't like it very well. And the reason I want to bring this up is that the movie studios, the folks from whom we license the films, now receive about 60% of the box office receipts. So if you come and buy a $10 movie ticket, Disney or Warner Brothers, Universal, somebody like that is getting $6 of that 10. So what's left over? That $4 doesn't begin to allow us to keep a really nice venue and to allow us to give you that great experience. And so, but for the privilege of selling food and beverage items to young people and adults who come to the theaters, we would not have a viable business at all.
Gotcha. Mitchell, anything you want to ask?
You're kind of putting me on the spot there.
Well, that was the point. Okay,
well,
so
you got yourself a list.
So we're gonna something like that. Like I said, we like, as we already covered, we like to
now we're going off script because that's more natural.
Script,
right?
I don't like. This is probably the worst part of radio is trying to prepare scripts. I would rather just wing it and have a conversation with you like anyone else would. And Miss McNee is terrorizing me through the window, telling me that
stay on script.
Yeah, tell me to stay on script. We have a little pop quiz for you, if that's all right. We want to try and get some just more fun questions out in the air.
Go for it.
Okay, what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. What's your favorite soda?
Although it should be purple because that's the
maybe we should.
Cut that. No, it's purple. It's purple. I swear.
Can we edit this?
Yeah, we can
We'll edit it in post. Yeah.
Okay, and what's your favorite soda?
Coke Zero.
Coke Zero.
Oh yeah.
Are you a big soda drinker, or do you just stick with water?
I drink more iced tea these days because they tell me that stuff isn't good for me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, believe me, I do other things that aren't good for me too. But I've tried to occasionally demonstrate some discipline in
Gotcha.
my behavior.
Okay, what's your favorite sport?
I like pro football.
Pro football, is that what you do? Are you like one of the very avid? Do you have all the subscriptions to the different channels and whatnot?
No, I'm a long-suffering Lions fan.
Yeah.
And by the way, I like college football. I like college basketball, particularly during the
March Madness.
because
Yeah.
I think that's the really fun time for college basketball.
Yeah.
But I was sharing with you earlier, I have no athletic prowess whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why, but I didn't get that part when the genes were being passed out. And so I'm a good spectator, but not a good player.
Gotcha. Did you play any in high school at all?
I was on the debate team.
You were on the debate team?
Rivers, the captain of the debate team.
I'm actually the captain of our debate team here at Avondale.
Well, good for you.
Well, look at the
You know,
irony.
It's great training
The coincidence.
because
It's so
you learn to
special.
speak extemporaneously. You learn to think on your feet. It's all good stuff.
Yeah, and I mean, I started in debate before I came to radio. I just walked in there one day with some friends because I knew I liked to argue with my parents, and then eventually, me and Mitchell took up arguing in class, and then I was like, "Hey, why don't we record this?" And that's how we got here today. So yeah.
Well, I don't think you've been argumentative with me.
Yeah, at least not here. We have
Not
we have a
yet.
special guest. We're trying to play nice today.
I'm gonna say, you want to argue with me? Well, what do you want to argue about?
Oh, maybe once you get off air, me and Mitchell will argue after some stuff. That's normally our Ram show format. Is just I say something and then he argues with me for an hour, and then that's the show.
Because he's always wrong.
It can happen.
Okay, next pop question. What's your favorite candy?
Oh, let's see. I don't do much candy, but I like Junior Mints.
Junior Mints? Oh, that's my mom's favorite too. Well, or Snickers maybe, and Miss McNee apparently. All right. Do you watch Sunday cartoons? When you were growing up, did you ever watch Sunday cartoons?
I did. In fact, they were on Saturday morning too when I was a kid. And one of the thoughts I've had is that years ago, before the start of a feature film at a movie theater, they would show cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually thought about, is there a way we could bring that back?
Well,
I'm still thinking about it. I don't know quite how to do it with the licensing and the studio requirements and so forth, but I think it'd be really fun to be able to show some cartoons. And the studios do it themselves. Disney will oftentimes
Exactly.
put a short film before one of their feature-length products.
the one they had growing up that I feel like played the most was the one with the little blue bird on the it was like on a power line or something with other birds, and they kept getting yelled at or something.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think that would be like a huge nostalgia piece, especially for parents. Because like you said, it's all about enhancing that experience. Because, there's movies everywhere, but we still go to movie theaters because there's nothing like, getting in and getting into your seat, and having the lights come down. I mean, it all works together very well. So I think that'd be, super sweet to just kind of bring back those memories of, the cartoons before the show.
Definitely.
I'm thinking about it. We'll see if we can make it happen.
We'll
Hey,
see.
that happened here first. Heard
That's
it here
right.
first. Wow.
First.
Okay. So on the topic of the Sunday cartoons, do you have a favorite? Do you have any nostalgia? Any that you remember that were something you just like always loved or waited for?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the name of it. I found it on the internet recently, and it had to do with it was a turtle character. So this goes back to my youth. This is a lot of years ago. And the turtle would always get himself into pickles, like predicaments. And the wizard would come in and save the turtle. And he would say, "Drizzle, drozzle, father home. Time for this one to go home." And I always thought, boy, I need somebody like that to pull me out of pickles.
The wizard that comes along and says a
Exactly.
little rhyme.
Yeah.
I'm sure someone's like at home, like next to the radio, like, yeah, I know the show name. Like, I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
we'll have to dig that up afterwards. I mean,
Yeah, we'll have
my
to go find
favorite
it.
growing up was always Tom and Jerry.
I was a Bugs Bunny fan because
You
my
were-
dad was huge on Bugs Bunny, so. Special
Well, and I was like Roadrunner too.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because the
definitely.
anvil
Good
would fall and the Tasmanian devil and so
Yeah.
forth. I thought that was funny.
Okay, next pop question: bow tie or tie?
Tie. I don't know how to tie a bow tie.
You don't, but if you had the aesthetic choice, if you did learn how to, would you start wearing a bow tie?
I might, although it's a little too preppy for me. I didn't grow up in Grosse Pointe, so it wouldn't be my style.
I feel like you always have on very interesting ties. I mean, yours right now looks very interesting.
Well, this tie is a Dominic Pangborn tie, and Dominic Pangborn is an artist from the Detroit area. He does all kinds of different art, but he has a collection of ties. He used to actually have a store at the Detroit airport where I would buy my ties.
Oh, really?
Now I have to buy them online. But Dominic is another local business guy, and so I like to support Dominic by buying Pangborn ties. And if you ever watch like Fox 2 News, Huel Perkins wears his ties, and so they're readily identifiable.
So whenever you go to, you look in your closet and you're like, I've worn these ones too often. You just look them up online and try and pick out another one.
Yeah, occasionally you need to refresh your wardrobe of ties, right?
Oh, maybe he could make you a special one with like the Imagine logo on it or something.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
you could
make Imagine
design
ties.
one.
I'll buy one. I'll be your first buyer.
That's a great idea.
I'll get one.
He somebody was wearing one the other day. We had the Ryder Cup at Oakland Hills about 10, 15 years ago, and he made a special tie in honor of the Ryder Cup. So I suppose we could do it for Imagine too.
That's really awesome. Okay, next pop question. Do you have a favorite comedian?
Favorite comedian? Well, I really like John Panette. Sadly he died just recently.
Oh.
But he really made me laugh a lot.
Do you prefer stand-up or like the comedy genre of films and whatnot?
Well, I'm big on stand-up. I like stand-up a great deal. And but I also think that's one of the genres that candidly is missing in action these days in feature films. You rarely see comedies produced for the big screen these days, and honestly, I don't know why. If the premise was that they weren't resonating with audiences, but if you go back 5, 10, 15 years ago, 20% of the feature releases were comedies. Now it's almost zero.
Yeah, I really feel like I haven't seen one. All the big titles lately have been like It and American Assassin and just all
the
these
Marvel films.
Yeah, very serious. And they might have comedy undertones, but nothing that is really 100% comedy.
Yeah, so you think back to films like When Harry Met Sally, and there's a whole roster of comedic films that I thought really worked, and people would attend them. So I don't know why. That's one of my challenges. I am a lowly retailer. I show what Hollywood purveys, and then you guys get to vote with your wallets as to whether or not it's worth seeing.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like, on sitcoms on TV, they have to have the laugh tracks because you're probably just sitting home on the couch, watching it yourself. But there's something about, like, if you go to see a comedy movie in a theater and the whole audience laughs, like, that's a whole different environment. Like, you can't get that same laughing at a comedy movie at home. So I hope those come back.
There is a social aspect to going to the movies, and believe me, I'm asked all the time about, you can watch films on your iPad, you can watch them on your smartphone, you've got Netflix and Hulu and streaming and so forth. And so isn't that going to represent the demise of the movie theater industry? And interestingly enough, pundits have been predicting the demise of the movie theater business since the advent of television. So this goes back to the early 50s. Folks have been saying, it's over, forget it, turn out the lights. Mm-hmm. And then with the advent of VHS tapes and then DVDs, that was completely going to put the industry out of business. And what I would respectfully submit is that it's a business that has had to evolve and to change and to better meet the expectations of changing consumer tastes. And so, for example, a few years ago, we saw that one of our competitors had installed these power reclining chairs in their venue, and their patron count more than doubled. Well, it didn't take long for me to figure out that this is what guests wanted, and if that's what guests want, they want to sit in a power reclining chair, then by golly, we better provide those power reclining chairs. And so, everybody can make popcorn at home these days. Mm-hmm. But that's why when you go to Imagine, you can buy cheese corn, you can buy caramel corn, you can buy regular popcorn, you can buy olive oil popcorn, and then we'll put real butter on it if you like. And so it's all about trying to meet those specific needs of certain parts of the audience. And I would say that our job is to continue to listen to the voice of the customer and to understand how to make the experience better, how to better serve them.
How do you guys field those comments? Like, how do you receive that what the customers want type thing?
Well, we hear through social media. Social media has a very loud voice these days. And to some degree, folks my age roll our eyes over that kind of stuff because we look and go, everybody's a critic now. There was a time when you would rely on a restaurant critic. Now with Yelp or Facebook or Google reviews, anybody can write anything they want about a particular venue, right? And it's a balancing act. I don't mind telling you, though, we take the comments and the ratings that we get in social media very, very seriously. And we're actually putting in place an incentive plan for our theater managers to ensure that our ratings are good. And so when folks tell us they had a bad experience, we're reaching out to them immediately to try to make it right. Because I would tell you this, too. We don't bat 1,000. Nobody really does. But when we follow it off, when it's bad, we try to make it right with our guests.
Yeah, and on your Twitter profile, it's very present that you respond to people very quickly and that you have very, how do I say, just like at-home responses. You're not too formal about it. You're not too pressuring about it. And it just feels like you're talking to another human being rather than talking to a big corporation, which is a really good aspect.
Yeah, you only get 140 characters in Twitter, right? Well, I guess private message you could send more. But I honestly do my best because, again, I genuinely care. I genuinely care about every single guest experience. And I think some people would think that's odd, but that's the survival of our business. Again, because you have choices. If you don't like Emagine, you'll vote with your wallet and go elsewhere. So it's my job to sort of turn you into a raving fan. How do I do that? Well, by communicating with you, with communicating with all of our guests, with hopefully providing a great experience. And again, when we screwed up, and we do occasionally, then what do you do to make it right? And that's our responsibility.
Right.
And, I had somebody write and tell me it was an area high school student. I think they had the day off from school. They went to like a 10:30 morning, and somebody was disturbing the experience throughout their film. And she was very gracious in telling me, and I know this isn't your fault. It was like, no, it actually is our fault because we're supposed to usher the auditorium so that if your experience was disturbed, you're not going to pay for it. And so we refunded all of her money, that of her guests, including their ticket and their concession purchases. Because my theory is this: if you don't have a good experience at Emagine, it's not your problem. I'm paying for it. Well, I just think it's the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's an awesome ideology and something that, really has probably brought you a lot of success, one of the key features to your success. So you use the term raving fans, which I think is very, very present here at Avondale. Yeah. I mean, you heard the shouts and all the smiles, and the line of picture for people who want to take pictures was almost out the door. So with those raving fans, and I'm pretty active on Twitter, and I see all the stuff that comes from other Avondale students towards you, do you have a strangest Twitter message or a strangest Twitter tweet that you remember? Anything that was, specifically just kind of threw you back?
That one's really tough. Nothing comes to mind immediately. I just know that not everyone is gracious on social media. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. And, if you heard my speech you did about the fact that we're auditioning every day, I think it's important for all of us to keep in mind that what we're posting on social media could be there for a long time, and college recruiters can see what you've posted, prospective employers can see what's been posted, and so using profanity or using or being negative, I think is not necessarily a really smart move. And so one of the things I always try to do in my social media posts is to be positive. And I don't know if it's true. I mean, there are times I'm kind of angry or perturbed.
Yeah.
But I make a conscious effort never to be negative, no matter what the nature of the post is.
That's really wonderful to hear. I think we're starting to run out of time here, so I think we're going to try and wrap it up. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much. It all started with just a Twitter message from
yeah, he sends me the picture. He's like, guys, I'm gonna text Paul Glantz. I'm gonna see if I can get him in. I'm like, River, that's not no, stop. Like, that's not going to happen. And then, like, a couple minutes later, there's your response saying, like, yeah, sign me up. And I'm, like, everyone in the chat is freaking out but here you are.
Well,
So thank you.
I'm delighted to be here, genuinely. I mean, I'm really glad to meet with all of you today. I hope that, I've had some little kernel of knowledge from an older guy that would resonate with you guys. And I've enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
And the whole assembly aspect of it was really an afterthought, but I'm really glad that we followed through with it, because having our business students come in and be able to speak on that is just, it ended up being such a wonderful experience for everyone. And I know that you delivered a lot of very inspirational stuff.
Well, I'm delighted to hear that as well. I hope it was useful for those students.
Mr. Glantz, I have to ask, with the radio station and the students here and what you saw of our students, what do you think about the radio station as a learning environment, teaching them real-world skills?
Oh, I think it's terrific. That's what this is about. That's why, I talked about the fact that I've been working since I was 15 years old. There's experience, there's knowledge to be gained in both a real-world setting like this, as well as in a classroom environment. And so I think the single greatest opportunity you have as young people is to be a sponge, to absorb all of that knowledge, to learn from practical experience like this and from classroom knowledge, because life is about preparation. You want to prepare and prepare and prepare, and you don't necessarily always know what you're preparing for, because I can tell you that when I was working in public accounting in the early 80s, I had no idea I was auditioning for the privilege of opening a movie theater chain.
Yeah, how about that?
Great words. Okay, so we're going to finally wrap it up here. Once again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming in and spending all your time with us. And
yeah, you have been listening to 89.5 WHS Auburn Hills. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul Glantz. And I guess we'll see you next time.
yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
That's my pleasure. You guys are my customers. Least I can do is come and express my gratitude to you
Definitely.
and all of your fellow students, because, again, you're our guests. My responsibility is to serve you.
And we've really only ever had one other guest star that is of celebrity status. We've had a couple bands. I'd say what?
Yeah,
four?
we had like
Four.
2 bands in here,
So
and then
we
we
had,
had
like-
Diamond White in here.
Yeah, but she was the singer, so
Yeah.
that counts.
Yeah,
So
but
we've
when you
had-
came in, like, everyone knew you, and when